First and foremost, just overall thoughts after watching the film back.
Yeah, ran into a buzzsaw against a quality football team, a well-coached football team that was prepared to play. And unfortunately, we didn't match their intensity overall. And so when you reflect and watching the film, the reality is that you lost the football game. You finished second in this football game. And here's why. The fundamental things from the opening kick to alignment and assignment, we didn't do the things that we've practiced throughout the duration of camp in preparation for that game opener. And so when that happens and it's coupled by missed tackles, it's coupled by turnovers, those things will come back to haunt you, and it did. And we dug a hole for ourselves going down 14 really early within minutes of the game and could never really recover, and kind of had to get off schedule at one point to stay into the game or attempt to try to stay in the game as time was not on our side.
Yeah, how do you handle a situation like that with such a young team, and
Yeah.
and what's the learning lesson after a game like that with so much of the season left?
Yeah, challenging for a young group of men. It was challenging going into it because you knew the expectation that they would have to try to meet. I think at the back end we settled down, we got into some tempo stuff, and it was good to see our team have resolve and not just throw in the towel, that we weren't going to just run the clock out, that we were going to do things necessary to try to put points on the board. I think they continue to fight throughout the duration of the game, and so that was good to see. Even after going up 14, I thought our defense played stellar, forced a couple of 3-and-outs in a row, and did some good things. But you need help. You need a turnover here. You need not to create a turnover over here. But we flashed. We threw and caught the ball well at times, had a couple of runs that were decent, but we were very inconsistent in our alignment and assignment in communicating with one another, and therefore that cost us this football game.
I was just going to say, with the quarterbacks, I think that both performed, and more specifically Grundy.
Yeah, I thought they had decent performance. I think there's much room to be improved. Whenever you give up 9 sacks, there's things that are attributed to that. Most of the time on the outside, people think it's just the offensive line. That was not the case. It was time that we escaped out of a pocket that was formed. It was times that we held the ball long. It was time that the back didn't close the distance and make that block, or a receiver went too deep in his route perception. And that's all signs of a young football team that went into an opener. We're unfortunate that in the National Football League you get these preseason games against an opponent to work those out. In college football, they all count. And so we'll learn from it. We'll grow from it. That's the good thing. We were beaten by a team that took advantage of the things that we were not assignment sound in doing. I feel good and confident that we can still line up and be a formidable foe against an opponent when they line up against us and we know what to do. I like our chances.
Big game coming up this week against Baylor.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder of what happened last year.
And they're much improved. They're talented. You look at a couple of games from them last year, and they were very close on a lot of them, including our game. And so they're a talented team. They're a well-coached team. They'll present everything that we could ever want to handle. Certainly, I know they're going to want to play well after going into their place and claiming victory. We'll try to do our very best to prevent that from happening, but respect Matt Rule and his staff and the job that they do, and expecting a big-time football game on Saturday.
Do you expect anything less from your team to bounce back soundly and have great practices this
week? We'll bounce back. Yeah, we had a great practice last night, meetings last night, and we'll be back.
What does it mean to bring in a program like Baylor to the Alamo Dome? Where does it show that this program's progressing to kind of have those matchups?
Yeah, I think it's good. It speaks to our brand as a whole. We have a venue that allows us to host any team from any level or any conference, and they feel comfortable coming into it to face which we consider ourselves a quality opponent. I think our program continues to take steps in the right direction, and we look forward to this opponent. I think it's good for our state. I think it's good for our city.
And then just drawing on some of the positives from Saturday's game, what was something or some things that stood out to you that you can carry into this game against Baylor?
Offensively, you had 7 big plays that accounted for over 140 yards with a Tyreek here and a Kirk Johnson here and a BJ Daniels powerful run here. We did some really good things. We did communicate at times as an offensive line. Cordell threw some really decent balls. A defense that forced 3 back-to-back 3-and-outs at times and was really good on third down. I think they were 3 of 10 maybe on third down situation. Those were some of the highlights of our team. We averaged 40 yards a punt. We had 1 opportunity to kick a PAT. We were perfect on it. So we did some good things, and there was some highlights within it, just not enough to consistently to win the football game.